Okay, guys, so tonight, this is about your danger zone, also known as your comfort zone. And so Marianne has done a lot of research on this, and so she's going to start us off, and then I'm going to bring us home with just some things to think about and to kind of close us out, to help us get mentally prepared for these next few months of magic in our business. So Marianne, I'm going to have you take it away.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. So the danger zone and your comfort zone and why we're there. Lots of times I've had conversations with people and even myself thinking, why is it that sometimes I get stuck? And for some of us, the answer is, well, I know everything to do. I really do. I'm highly trained. I've trained everything, but then I'm just in my way. And that's honestly one of the hardest parts to be in, is when you know what to do and you don't do it. Okay. And so sometimes you go on that cycle of self-condemnation and everything, and you just don't do anything, and then you get used to that and it becomes your comfort zone. And our pastor talked last week on apathy, and that's also what comes into play with that. And so I want to ask you, in what areas are you comfortable? And you're not going forward. You don't feel like you're going backwards. You're just staying there. But you feel like in your heart you are supposed to do something and move forward and be different. And the big question is, why are you so comfortable? And you really have to think about that and look in the different areas of your life and think, why am I so comfortable? And sometimes it's because there's just not a crisis going on. Or maybe you've been let off the hook. Maybe where something bad should have happened, or you should have reaped the consequences of bad decisions, but maybe someone came in and swept in and saved the day, but you still didn't have to be responsible for those decisions. So basically, people, what is that? The word is enabling. Are you being enabled in some way in a certain area of your life so you don't really have to grow out of it? I also think that apathy, a lot of it comes through our culture. So it depends on how much you are engaged in our culture. And so things like, I was doing a little bit of research on apathy, like the apathetic culture. And a couple of things that I found, number one was desensitization. So if you watch the news a lot and it's all bad all the time and so catastrophic. And some things they've gotten so bad. And so when you are bombarded with that much negativity and, people in our law, don't really make a difference, and they seem to make it worse or whatever. If you see that all the time, you might think, well, what good am I going to do? And you don't feel like you can do anything. You feel powerless and hopeless, and therefore you just don't do anything. And you're apathetic. So apathetic is just having no emotion, not caring. You're not for it. You're not against it. You're right in the middle. And what God calls that is being lukewarm. And if you read in Revelation, it says, you're neither hot nor cold. You're lukewarm, and I will spew you out of my mouth. Really, lukewarm and apathetic is the worst thing we could be. Okay? And that's why that is the hardest part. Because usually, if you're so cold and you're just, so far away from God and life is just horrible. We talked today in church and that's where he can meet you and he can do miraculous thing. Or if you're super hot, you're running with him, and that's exciting. So you're in good places, whether you're hot or cold, but right in the middle, that's a hard place to be. So desensitization, because of, our culture and stuff. And so with that, the limiting belief or the unspoken thought that we don't always think is, if I don't do anything, why should I do anything? Because it's just not going to matter. So we don't always say that. Sometimes we do. But that is a limiting belief, because you were put here on purpose. Every single person was given a purpose, and you are powerful. It's whether or not you're choosing to use it. Number two, I call this one TMI, too much information. So we have access to so much because of the internet and, streaming Netflix and shows and all that, and social media. It just goes on forever, and all the surveys and all the articles that are on there and all the recipes that are on there. So the internet has everything except for real people. And that is our mission field. So because of the too much information, it causes confusion, which results in inaction. Like we say all the time, a confused mind does nothing. You think about an opportunity where you feel kind of confused and you're supposed to do something, but you're confused. So you don't want to do anything. And that's how it is. So TMI causes apathy and just not doing anything. And then also the unlimited possibilities, like, unlimited possibilities. And then I want to speak a little bit to like our millennial generation, maybe like the, 26 and under. One thing that's really hard that has caused a lot of apathy is actually their career options are two-faced. So it's like you need a degree so you can get a job, so you get that degree, and then you go looking for a job. But now all the jobs are asking you to have experience. Well, to have experience, you need a job. And so it's this ugly cycle that a lot of people are stuck in that age, and it's so hard. And so what they realize is what they learn through experience is that their hard work doesn't matter. And that's why they just don't work hard, okay? Because that's what their experience taught them. And then also things like games on, the TV or on social media, they're so distracting, and they're just so, like with your brain, games actually they're a type of thing that creates an addictive behavior, just the way it triggers the brain. Like it makes you want to do it over and over and over again, just like a drug or an alcohol. And so some people who actually come away from those kind of substances actually then switch to gaming. And so, that I talked to a couple of people and I asked them, I'm like, why do you play games, by the way? And they said, it just passes the time. And, our time is so precious. Like, why would you want to pass your time? It's valuable. You're supposed to do something with it that has purpose. And so I also thought, when we were talking about apathy, and I asked myself, I was like, why are we so apathetic? And just from a spiritual perspective, I feel like it's the spirit of offense. Like people just get so offended. So then politically correctness comes in. So then we decide to be politically correct about anything. Well, guess what that does? That means you don't want to ruffle any feathers, which means you don't do anything. And so I think that, that's how Satan gets people to not do what they're supposed to. If you can't get them to do something wrong, getting you to do nothing is the next strategy to render you ineffective. And so that's why we have to just break that apathy and that comfort zone, not doing anything. And so one way to get the opposite of being apathetic, not caring, staying in a comfort zone is compassion. And so what that is not only seeing a need, number 2, caring about it, and number 3, doing something about it. And so especially, you guys see with a lot of our social media, there's people are putting their issues out there all the time. There's so many needs. And what do? Prayers, emoji, hugs, heart, sad face like. What did that do? Nothing. Okay? That's the opportunity where you call them on the phone and you pray with them. Or if they need something, you've got to do something. So Jesus all the time, my favorite is like when he'd see something going on, and then the phrase was, and he had compassion. And right behind that, you would see him do something. The people were hungry and he had compassion on them. So he fed them. He gave them food. Like he didn't say, I'll pray for you. He put food in their stomach, or like if they had a disease or something, he didn't say, I'll pray for you. He did it and he healed them. Like he did something. And so we are to follow that model, of having compassion for people and putting action behind it. So that's really what I pray sometimes is, God, help me to see people the way you do. And because that's my prayer, I do feel like that's the lens that's over my eyes. And so that's why I like to care for people so much and do stuff for people. And this business is so perfect for that, because I have stuff to do every day to care for people. That's my job. That is my job description, is to serve people. And I wanted to go to, I have a mini notebook of 9 pages of notes. So y'all forgive me. I figured this was going to be all over the place, but you'll get it. Do stuff, help people. I will relate to you a story that our pastor shared, and it's one of those where because he was obedient, you got to see this really, really cool thing that God did. But then if you're not obedient and you don't do what he asks you to do and you just stay neutral, in action, staying in your comfort zone, then the hard part is that we don't get to see what we missed. And that's one thought I had today was, you think, well, what if I do this? What if I go out and encourage? What if I work my business like I feel like I can imagine, like I kind of dream, like I think I can do? What if I do that? Then you kind of can imagine the results. And as you work it, you will see those results. But then if you also think, well, what if I don't? I mean, some things we can, share. Well, you'll miss out on meeting these kind of people, or you'll miss out on these prizes or these life experiences. But if you don't experience them, you really don't know what you're going to miss. And I think that's the hardest part. And because you have to basically, you're just walking out on faith to see what he's going to do. And so the pastor, he talked about, there's this homeless guy that came, walk up to him at the gas station. And the pastor, he's a big guy. But this homeless guy was even bigger. He called him a Viking. It was hilarious, red-bearded Viking. And he was really nervous. He didn't know what was going to happen. He was kind of scared. But the guy said, we need some help. We need to stay in a hotel with my family. Do you have any cash? And he's like, all I got is $30 worth of quarters. And the pastor decided he was going to help him. He's like, I was scared, but I felt that I needed to help him. So he put the guy in the car, took his family to the hotel, paid for a couple nights, developed a relationship with the family, a really good relationship with the family. And eventually, even sometimes we'll let the family stay at his house. And eventually that family came to know Jesus. And so had he not taken that one step of courage that, he felt like God was leaning on his heart, who knows? This family would maybe not, get to spend eternity in heaven. You never know. Okay. So besides praying about it, you also have to break up your routine, because if you're not used to looking out for people and looking for opportunities, then, and that includes your business, then you're going to miss them. And so it's basically an opportunity for you to rely on God even more. And that's what I love about this business, is that you never know where it's going to take you, the people he's going to put you in front of, the opportunities. And not only when you have compassion on somebody and you want to do something, your time is great, but sometimes you need the resources to be able to help people. And that's something that this business offers in an unlimited way. Maybe, you need to, make donations to a homeless shelter or a food shelter, or provide a family that we did during Christmas time, that a woman had walked away from a domestic violence situation. We were able to pay for all of the Christmas for her family, for 4 girls. That takes money, that takes provision. And that's another thing that this business provides, is to be able to do all kinds of stuff like that. Maybe somewhere down the road in your legacy, you're supposed to open a really awesome foster care home that's really, really good, and I don't know, there's just so much. And so the way this business is built, the more you serve people, the more you care about people, the more you have compassion on them, you are paid monetarily. So we have those paychecks of our heart and also the paychecks in the bank account. And it's because the way our business is built, you get paid for serving. Okay, you have to go with the right heart. And the more you serve, the more you make. God can trust you. He can trust you with more wealth, and he knows you're going to do the right thing, and you're going to make a good difference. And so I love that verse that said, God's hidden treasure in earthen vessels. And so we are that. We're made out of dirt, so we are those earthen vessels, and we do have treasures inside of us. And I just want to encourage you guys just to let yourself be broken open and just see where God can take you. So think about, I want to ask you the question again, why are you so comfortable? Why are you okay with where you're at? God is always calling us to more and more. And write that down, kind of journal that in different areas of your life, like with your family, with your spiritual relationship, with your children, spouse, significant other, job, career, Mary Kay business, whatever, and kind of think about those. And then write down, what do you feel like he's called you to do? What more does he want you to do? Let's see. So a couple of steps, just, you got to choose to care. It always starts with prayer. When you feel that moment of compassion, choose courage and take action. Your miracle moment is waiting on you to stop, open your eyes, care, and serve. Also, identify your distractions. What is robbing you of caring? Is it past experiences? So we have to move forward from that. Is it your comfort zone, lack of vision? If you don't know where you're going, then sometimes that causes you to be in a comfort zone because you don't have a vision. So think about that, pray about that, and God will give it to you. On like a very physical note, a lack of exercise actually, in like some of the foods we eat, does affect the brain. I was doing some of that studying on the brain and how more exercising actually causes you to be in control of your emotions more. Whereas if you don't, you are more susceptible to being like stressed and in anxiety. And so like when you have all these bombardments from the world, that you get stressed and you feel anxiety and you feel like you can't do anything. You feel hopeless and powerless. And sometimes if you would just exercise on a regular basis, it fixes your brain to be able to handle that more. And it puts you in a better state of mind to think, okay, I actually can do something about this, and I'm going to do my part. I have a part that God has designed me to do, and no one else can do it. And if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. And so it's really important that you spend some time identifying what is your part, okay? Because you are important. You're extremely important. And so don't let whatever happened in the past, we all have pasts. We all have pasts, but God still uses it. All right. Yes. I thought I had a whole lot more, but that's it.
Well, Marianne, that was amazing. In fact, during your talk about doing something and how people just, they send a text and praying and emojis and things like that, I sent a text to someone who had sent me a scripture during, around December. I was going through stuff, and I'll share with that more later on in a few months. I'll share with you guys, and so I did need prayer, and so she was one of the first that I was able to talk to about it, and I sent her a text just a few minutes ago. I said, forgot to tell you that the scripture you sent me back in December really carried me through. And I said, we're doing training tonight. And I said, it brought me great peace. And I said, thank you. I said, we're doing training tonight, and we're talking about do something. So many people send prayer texts or prayer emojis, and we really miss out on dealing with the things, or dealing with when people are dealing with something, but we miss the chance to really minister. And I said, thank you for ministering to me. And so sometimes just sending a scripture along with, it's okay. I know a lot of times we don't know what to say. And so just saying that we're praying is because sometimes words can't comfort, but I can promise you scriptures can. So if you're going to send those, emojis and those praying emojis, send a scripture. And I stopped right where what we were doing, and I sent that to her because I know she needed to know that she really ministered to me. And so thank you. That was amazing, Marianne. So I want to just share a few little quotes that you can maybe even put on your corkboard or put on your desk. You guys, I'm just going to tell you that when I was brand new, you guys know I had a lot of fears and a lot of anxieties. I had a lot of mental warfare going on in my head. But there was one quote that really just gave me power. And it was, you will remain the same until the pain of remaining the same is greater than your fear of change. And so I had that on my desk, and it was like an aha moment. And the second one that impacted me was Tammy Craig. Mary Kay used to have, that when they put the Go Give nominees in the back of the catalog, they used to ask what your favorite quote was. And I would always read, the top directors what their favorite quote was. And I'll never forget this. This was Tammy Craig's, and it was, the true test of a woman's character is what it takes to stop her. And those were my two that just kept me empowered. And so I want to just say a few things that I found about the comfort zone and the danger zone. And it said, everything you've ever wanted is one step outside of your comfort zone. Everything. The moment you step away from it, you realize that it really wasn't all that comfortable. If you don't step out of your comfort zone and face your fears, the number of situations that make you uncomfortable will continue to grow. Oh my gosh, is that not huge? And then here's something I always teach my kids, and I want you moms to grab hold of this. I always teach my kids, go with the choice that scares you the most, because that is the one that's going to help you grow. Okay? And in any given moment, we have two choices to step forward into growth or to step back into safety. Okay? And I promise you, you'll live a life of regret if you continue to step back into safety. And then I want to leave you with this, and then I do want to add something else. If you want something you've never had, you've got to be willing to do something you've never done. And I think we talked about that at the beginning of the year with like me, Warm, chattering, and Angeline just taking that bridal fair on her own and taking it by the reins like a wild bull and just taming that sucker. Like, wow, good for you, because that's pretty scary to stand there at a booth by yourself. It really is. I always get somebody to stand there with me, because when I see a sharp cookie like Marianne, hey, go talk to that girl over there for me. I mean, when you're by yourself, you have nobody to go do that to. So congratulations and kudos to you. But, I think about where I am, and I think about who I used to be, and what was the little cheese, it's like a rat chasing the cheese. What got me out of my comfort zone? What got me out of that safe place where I was never going to grow? I was always going to be shy and insecure. But what was it? And it was somebody else was changing my children's diaper and feeding them every bottle. And I did not want any part of that. And so it was always my kids. And you guys know it's always been my kids. And the fact that I would not be able to go to everything that they had or every sport that they did. And Carmen and Richard got to see me in my mommy. I mean, they'll tell you, I don't know that I ever sat down. I mean, jumping, screaming. They were probably like, who is this person? But I love that. That's my joy. And I would not have been able to experience, that as long as I have without getting out of my comfort zone. And I look back so many times a week, sometimes daily, and go, oh, where did I find the courage? Where did I find the strength to say yes to that $100 decision? Like, how was I so smart? I wasn't. It was God. It was God. I was chicken. But God knows how to put the right things. And if you'll just pray, God, show me the way. Show me the door. He'll show you which door to go down and which path to go down. And it is kind of scary. It is kind of scary. And I'm going to, something that just came to me. I used to, whenever I would be in the car with Andy, and I was always afraid of losing my job in the mortgage business. That was my safety blanket. This was before Mary Kay. This was my safety blanket. And I can remember probably the year before that I came into Mary Kay, we were riding down the road, and I looked at those staffing services started popping up, and I was curious about them. And I'm like, why am I looking at that? I'm always going to be in the mortgage business. Why am I looking at that? And it scared me, because it's like God was preparing me to walk away from the mortgage business. And I had no idea, but I felt him calling me, but I didn't know how I was going to be called away. And I'm like, why would I be thinking like that seed was planted? I know that might seem odd, but God has been planting this seed for you and for you to come into your greatness for a long time. And some of you are not listening, and you're just waiting for everything to come into your comfort zone. And I'm just here to tell you, it is not going to come there. You have to go out and get it. Grab that bull by the horn and face that face those fears, okay? On your knees, on your face is the best way I can tell you. On your face. If you've never prayed on your face, belly to the floor, nose to the floor, cold tile, as Holly Lowe has said, butt naked on a cold tile floor is the closest you could get to God. I don't even want to envision that. But she's right. That's how close you will get. It's a spiritual awakening. And it's you showing God, I'm ready to receive your gifts. I'm ready to trust you. And that's where the magic begins to happen. So I hope that this was helpful for you tonight. And we are ready. We're ready for you guys to just blow it wide open and give God all the glory. God will never get the glory out of you quitting or playing small. Ever, never, never. But he gets all the glory out of you succeeding and winning. And so playing small helps no one. Marianne, do you want to add something?
Yeah, your two choices was very similar. I listened to a message from Pam Shaw. You know, she's one of our favorites, and it was number one: you can choose to live courageously, or you can live a life of regret.
Yep.
Those are the two options.
Yep.
So you have to ask yourself, what would I regret more? The pain of possible rejection, of stepping out of my comfort zone, or regretting it later that you didn't even try? Which would you regret most? When you're faced with a challenging decision, or you're like scared to step out, step back and ask yourself, which one would I regret more? Trying and failing, and which means you learn, because y'all know every time you fail, that means you learn, you grow forward, or not even retrying and regretting that. So she tells the story. She tried out to be a cheerleader at the University of Kentucky. If y'all know, it's super, super hard. Mm-hmm. And she worked real hard, and she wasn't picked, but she wasn't disappointed, but she gave it her all. She tried. And so she grew from that. And the very next day, the dance teacher from the university came to her and said, I want you on my dance team. And at first she thought, no, I don't want to mess. She wanted her to try out. She's like, I don't want to fail again, but she stepped out in courage. Okay, so number one, her first step of courage was trying out for the cheerleading team. Failed. Step two was choosing to try out for the dance team. She got on it, became the president, which set her up for the future when she went and taught in Florida, her first teaching job, because then she was in charge of all the dance team there, all the color guard there, all the cheerleader there, and that's where Mary Kay found her, and through that, met Cindy Mack, one of her color guard girls, who is now her number one sales director. We send you guys stuff from Cindy Mack all the time, but she'll tell you. She says, think about a time when you were courageous. You guys need to write this down. Think about the last time or a couple times when you were courageous. Now, not whether or not you won, not whether or not you succeeded, but you tried, okay? And the victory is in trying. I want you to get that in you. The victory is in trying, okay? Because you're not going to get it all the time. And so I have to ask you this. How can you expect to have incredible courage? Sometimes you're like, oh, I'm just so much I can do that thing. But how can you expect to have incredible courage if you don't have seemingly insignificant courage? They build on each other. Little tiny courage that doesn't seem to matter builds on little tiny courage that doesn't seem to matter. And eventually you grow that courage. Courage is a muscle, okay? You can't pick up that 200-pound muscle weight right away. You pick up the 10-pound. You build on it. Courage is a muscle. Yeah. So those are two things that reminded me of what you said, Michelle. And Melissa, I think you said your miracle moment is waiting on you to stop, open your eyes, care, and serve. That was that one.
Okay, so I love what Richard said, and I'm thinking that we should put this on some T-shirts at Career Conference. I have yellow shirts. Huh? I have a mustard seed, and I'm not afraid to use it. I love that one. I just wrote it down.
That's what's up. I love that.
Love that, Richard. Oh my gosh, that is fantastic.
What else is over here? Hey, Krista, good to see you, girl.
Yes. All right, guys. Thank you for calling in. We hope this was powerful and empowering, and we want, Get in beast mode. And as we said last year, go get your crazy on. All right. Good night, everybody. Good night.